Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hello Again with me, Broomy Broom. And this week I am joined by author Nell Pattison, who is going to talk to us all about her amazing psychological, suspensey thrillers. In case anyone didn't realise, is somebody being killed. That's what I do when I'm doing an impression.
Just for clarification.
Yeah. Not that I do it very often. Anyway, I digress. Thank you for being here, Nell. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Obviously cracking up a little bit, but we'll ignore that. Do you want to start by just telling us all a little bit about you and about your books?
About me, I don't think there's anything that interesting about me. So my first novel came out in March of this year, which was The Silent House, which I have here.
Ta-da!
And the sequel was just come out, which is Silent Nights.
Woo!
Okay, and they are part of a series, so they both feature a British Sign Language interpreter called Paige Northwood. And so they're crime thrillers. So in each of them, a crime occurs, but it's a crime within the deaf community. So the police need a BSL interpreter in order to communicate with suspects, witnesses, victims, etc. So it's comes somewhere between the police procedural and the psychological thriller. Almost one of the amateur detective type novels. So yeah, that's those.
Tell us
what else you want to know.
Tell us more about Paige then. She's obviously, did she come to you sort of fully formed? Was she a character that you've been thinking about for a long time before you started to write her?
She went through a few different incarnations. So I had the idea for the plot first for The Silent House. And that came from a desire to write a novel that featured the deaf community. So rather than having an individual deaf character, having a range of deaf characters that represented more of a broad community, which was my experience of working with and kind of interacting with the deaf community. So I had the idea for the story first. In The Silent House, there's a deaf family who wake up one morning to discover there's been a murder in the house, and actually a murder of a small child in the house while they were asleep. So obviously, as you can imagine, quite horrific. So originally I had that idea, and I went through a few different versions of it before I wrote it, and I wanted at first she was a deaf journalist, because I thought I'll do it as a cold case. She's a deaf journalist looking into this case that's never been solved, kind of in the idea that this family have just been ignored because they're deaf. They've not had anyone supporting, standing up for their rights and advocating for them in the way that a hearing family might have. But then I realised she wouldn't be able to have access to parts of the investigation that I wanted her to have access to. So then she became a hearing police officer, but who could sign, who was from a deaf family, so was fluent in BSL. But then I realised I would have to write a straight police procedural, and I couldn't be bothered with all the research. I've said this various times in interviews now. I'm too lazy to research.
I don't blame you. It's a lot. Not to worry about.
So I decided against doing that, and as well, it meant that if she was a police officer, there were a lot of things that she couldn't do. She was constrained, obviously, by her job, by the rules with her job. And so I went backwards and forwards, and I thought, how can I have her so that she's got the freedom to do what she wants, but also has access to the police investigation? I think it was 3:00 in the morning. One day I woke up and went, she can be a BSL interpreter.
Yeah.
So that's where that came from. It. So yeah, she didn't come fully formed at all. Her role gradually shaped into what it was within the story that I already had that I wanted to write.
It's so clever, and just that sort of the idea of that sort of how frightening that book is, The Silent House, to be completely sort of unaware of something like that happening under your own roof, because that sensory deprivation, you can't see, and it's dark and you can't hear anything. Whoa, it gives you goosebumps just to think about it. So it's very clever.
I think there are certainly some people who I know who have said they don't want to read it because they're too scared. I promise it's not scary. It's a horrible situation, absolutely, but the book itself isn't scary. I don't know. I'm a bit of a coward. I am. I'm a coward. I read a book recently. It's a new HarperCollins one by C.S. Green, who writes as Cass Green for other novels. And Phoebe Morgan, who sent it to me, the editor, I'd told her off because I'm like, I'm a coward, Phoebe. I don't like reading scary things. So I don't know. I don't think The Silent House is scary.
Stay away from Mo Hader. That's all I'll say.
Maybe it is. Yeah, that's it. If something is really scary, then like I had to stop reading Stuart McBride's books. I think they're really good, but some of them are just a bit too much for me. They are. He's proper, really gritty, close to the bone stuff.
I don't like scary. I don't like gory. Gory is what gets me. If it's too sort of, if it feels gratuitous.
Yeah.
Like I've never read American Psycho, even though I feel like I should, because I just can't get through it. It's too nasty.
See, I have read that, but I see that more about the book is more about his state of mind than it is about the murders. You know, and it's about the society that he is part of and all of these sorts of things. So I suppose I read it with that sort of slant on it and maybe just blocked out the gore.
Yeah. Probably. Maybe I'll give it another go. I'll give it another go. Did you
don't blame on me if it's horrible.
So there's 2 books out featuring the same character, Paige, and a third one coming next year. Did you always set out to write a series featuring this character, or was it that you delivered the first book and your editor was like, oh my god, I love Paige, let's do more of her?
I think I always had it in mind that it could be a series, and I had other ideas and I think when I first pitched it, when I was first looking for an agent, and I'd submitted it then, I think I did say it's a standalone but with series potential, because I think certainly with crime, I think if you've got a central character who isn't the villain and who doesn't die, know, if it's something to do with their role, kind of their job, then it is often with crime areas, that's the way you tend to look at series, don't you? You look at coming back to central characters, whether it's a police officer or whether it's some sort of amateur detective. I think it's something that it just is typical for the genre. Looking at series, I'd have thought so.
Yeah,
it was always in my head.
Popular things. It is, Line of Duty has those core characters that you come back for. Cormoran Strike is another example. Well, there's hundreds of examples, aren't there?
Yes, I mean most of your big name crime writers do series. I mean, people like Val McDermott, Mark Billingham, obviously Lee Child, so all of these people, all of the big names do series. So hopefully that'll be me one day. Hopefully there'll be somebody talking about me, in this context.
Why not? This is the thing. We were talking about this before, weren't we? There's plenty of room for lots more big names.
Absolutely.
Names, stars. This is
always room for more books.
Exactly. I've always thought that, I write escapist romantic fiction, and that requires a fair amount of plotting, but I can't even imagine how much more difficult it must be when you've got to plot and unfurl a crime or a whodunit piece by piece. Are you a sort of forensic plotter? And I wanted to ask you as well about how you build suspense, because do you have any sort of tricks that you do, or is it layer by layer?
I don't know how I do that. That's a difficult one. Oh, plotting. Well, yes, I do a lot of plotting, and I start with the crime and start with the what if question. So, obviously, with The Silent House, what if a family woke up to find that a child had been murdered in the middle of the night? Silent Night, the new one, is what if a deaf teenager went missing on an overnight school trip. So that's what happens in Silent Night. There's a school for the deaf have gone to a wooded area for an overnight school trip, and it's very snowy, and there's a lot of tension within the group, and they wake up in the morning and one of the teenagers is gone. So I start with that, and then I work on who did it and why. So I do the important part of the beginning and then the important part of the end first. and then I populate it with other characters who could be suspects and give them motives, and figure out how they fit in, how they relate to the victim, how they relate to each other, and then I just fill in what happens in between.
You make it sound so simple.
yeah, I know, it's really easy. So, yeah, it's difficult. Then I do kind of work through, and I write using a program called Scrivener. I don't know if you know Scrivener.
Yeah.
And the way it means I can kind of keep an eye on the shape of it as I'm plotting out different scenes. So I can have a look and think, if there's going to be another body, I'm thinking, right, at what kind of point do I want that? And other kind of larger incidents, as it were, working out where they're going to come at different points. I think, I don't know about the tension aspect. I think with the flashback scenes, so the books are both divided up into days. They both take place over about a couple of weeks. They're divided up into days, and at the beginning of each day you have a flashback scene that's from a different character's perspective. So it's mostly from Paige's perspective, but then you have flashback scenes from another character's perspective that gives you a little bit more insight into things that happened before the crime took place.
Excellent. Yeah. And
I think that those help with building the tension, because then the reader knows things that happened that the police don't know, that Paige doesn't know. They know about interactions between characters that they might have lied about to the police. And so, so the reader's got two different sides. They know what actually happened, and they know what the character told the police and what Paige and the police believe happened. And so I think that helps to build up some of the suspense there, because the reader's kind of thinking, well, at what point are they going to find out about that?
Yeah.
But no, actually you can't do that because this happened. Don't you know it was that? So it's
in that privileged position as a reader to get a sort of a first look, if you like, at the goods.
Yeah, to have a bit of insight that the main character doesn't have.
Yeah,
I think is always a nice thing.
I always read looking for clues whenever I'm reading or listening to crime. I'm always like, incidental characters that kind of come in and out. I'm like, there's no way that character would be there unless they have to be. Like sometimes with the books I write, sometimes I'm writing a scene, and I don't know about you, but a character will just sort of wander in that you haven't really planned on being there, and you're like, oh, hello, how, who are you? It doesn't matter so much in romantic fiction. You can have these sort of little silly asides with characters that don't really do anything. But in crime, I feel like everybody has a purpose and everybody needs to be there for a good reason.
Yes, and you have to be careful with number of characters as well. I mean, in both of these, in the original drafts, there were more characters, and so I did have to shave down the number of characters. I got it right with the third one. I didn't have to take any characters out of the third one. Oh, yeah. Yes, I just overpopulate my world with characters. But yeah, I think because a reader can only care about so many characters, and a reader can only kind of hold so many characters in their head, and if a reader is trying to figure out what's happened, then they need to be able to sort out the characters in their head and have one or two that they've got thinking, oh, I think it's that one, or it might be that one.
Yeah.
If you've got too many characters, then it just makes it too difficult.
Yeah, I agree. And like you say, you want your readers, don't you, to form sort of bonds and relationships and with characters. And if there are too many, it does get a bit like,
Yes, because I think you have to.
Cast, don't you?
Sorry?
The key cast.
Yes, because obviously with a series, you have to have characters that are that people care about and they want to read another book about. If nobody liked Paige or her interactions with the police or anything like that in the first book, then they're not going to read the second, because they think, oh, I don't want to read about that character again. So you have to have, even if they don't particularly like her, there has to be something about it that they're interested in seeing more. So there's that aspect, but then also with the others, you have to care about victims.
Yes.
In crime, really, and you have to care about perpetrators getting their comeuppance. So you need some characters that you care about because you like them, and you need characters that you care about because you don't like them as well. You need to have characters that sometimes there are some like I remember reading The Help, and I had to read on because there was one particular character I had to see something bad happen to her because she was awful. But obviously, because that was the quality of the writing, because she was written as this awful person, you wanted to reach into the book and get your fists on her. But that was, one of the things that drove me on to read it. But then, similarly, there are some, say, psychological thrillers that have gone viral in the last 5-10 years that have done really, really well, that actually I've really not particularly liked. And there was one, I won't say which one it is because I don't slag off other people's books, but there was one that is hugely hyped and was very successful, that I only got halfway through because I didn't care about either of the main characters because they were both awful, they deserved each other, and I just couldn't be bothered reading any further, so I only read half of it. Because I didn't actually care what happened to them because they were,
It is all that character, isn't it? That is the most important thing. And actually, as an author as well, you don't want to spend time, I imagine it's quite fun to write somebody quite awful and nasty. It's also, you do fall for your main protagonists, and you have to spend an inordinate amount of time with them.
Yes.
Months and months and months of solo time where you just
years with the series.
Here we are again. Scratch credit number 3.
Oh dear. Yeah, it's I don't mind Paige. She's probably not somebody I would spend a lot of time with if I knew her in person, but she's all right.
She'll do.
Yeah.
Clearly, she's very nice. What do you think it is about thrillers and murder mysteries that so enthralls us as readers? Because it is probably, and by quite a long way, the biggest genre certainly in the UK market of readers. I love it too. And I'm always thinking, what is it about it? Is it the mystery? Is it because it's a complete departure from our normal lives?
I think it's the mystery. I think it's the puzzle. It's wanting to solve the puzzle, and wanting to solve the puzzle before someone in the book does. Because you get such a sense of satisfaction if you get to the end, you go, yes, I guessed it. Yeah, called it. Knew it was them. And you get a real sense of satisfaction when you do that, don't you? And I am terrible at guessing them. I'm getting a bit better now that I write crime. But I'm terrible at knowing who things are. I also have a bad memory. So I love Agatha Christie books, and I can read them over and over again because I can never remember who did it. It's great.
That is great.
So I think it is. I think it's the puzzle. I think it's having the satisfaction of having worked it out. Or if you don't work it out, having that, I'm really, found an author who got one over on me. I couldn't figure it out.
Amazing, midway through twists that just pull the rug out and you just go, oh. Louise Candish is very good at those, where you just, it's coming and you're like, what's she gonna do? And then when she does it, damn her, she's so clever, because you just it absolutely turns everything on its head. That is hard to pull off though.
Yes. And I think as well, because twists in general have become a lot more popular in crime and psychological thrillers, it's one that to actually get something now that hasn't been done and that is still clever and keeps the reader guessing is harder and harder, I think. Definitely. I think it does get harder because you're looking for a twist now, where when they started to become really popular, it was, you wouldn't necessarily know if you're waiting for a twist or not, but now you tend to think. And as well, the way that things are marketed, particularly on Amazon, with the twisty thriller, it's never just the title anymore, is it? It's followed by it's followed by something like the twisty thriller or the shocking thriller with twists and turns, and so I think people are waiting for twists now, so you have to work harder to get something that will really make the reader go, oh, I did not see that coming,
Yeah. And then, but I always think, is a twist still a twist if you know it's coming? I get quite frustrated when I get sent a proof and it's like the OMG twist you will not see coming. I'm like, well, I know it's coming now because you've just told me.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Just say it's going to be an incredible reading experience and leave it at that.
Yeah, I think it does lessen the impact, certainly. If you know that something's going to happen around the midpoint, then not only are you waiting for it as you get to that point in the book, but also your brain's been working on, what might it be? Is that character actually not what they say they are? Yeah. So I think your brain's working on working on what it might be before you get to that point.
I like going in blind, like just being sent like an e-proof of something, putting it in the Kindle, not reading anything and just going straight in, not really knowing what I'm reading. I do that sometimes. Just,
nice.
that's the old school way. What can you tell us about your next novel, which is coming out in April?
In April, okay, it's called The Silent Suspect.
Yes.
Yeah, The Silent Suspect. So yes, silent. We have a theme going on. And it's got a cracking cover as well. It's a really good cover. Well, I love all my covers.
Is that the one that, remind me what it looks like, the cover?
So it's the same sort of idea as these. Obviously, you've got the hands and something there. But it's on fire, because the cover's red and it's something on fire. Is it a house on fire? I think it's a house on fire. Because that's what happens at the start of the book. There is a house on fire. So it's about a deaf couple whose house is burnt down, and the wife is found dead inside the house. And at first it does look like an accident, until they discover that she died before the fire started. And the silent suspect is the husband, who refuses to say anything to the police, refuses to say anything to anyone, won't talk to a lawyer, won't talk to the police, won't talk to his social worker, will not say anything. And so the police and Paige then have to work with somebody who won't say a thing, won't defend himself, but neither will he confess. Gosh. So it's the, did he do it? And so he's hoping that you won't find the evidence, so he's not saying anything about it. Or is it that he didn't do it, but he's protecting someone?
Love it.
Yeah.
And are you finished? Is it all handed in and done and ready, or are you still editing?
Oh, still editing, yeah.
I was going to say, you're way ahead of the game. You're done. Sorry? I was going to say you're way ahead if that one's ready already.
No, I'm hoping it'll be done by Christmas, but it won't necessarily be done by Christmas, because who knows?
Yeah.
But we'll see. Yeah.
I know we're living but day by day at the moment, aren't we?
Yes.
What's going to be thrown at us next, but you're doing right. The fact that we've managed to write anything during this year, I think, is a small miracle.
Yeah.
I'm always beating myself up, and I thought, I should have written my book a lot faster. I've had all these months where I haven't had to go, into London, into work. But actually, I don't know about you, my concentration has been in tatters. I'm like a goldfish. I'm like, sentence, Twitter, sentence, news, sentence, anxiety attack. It's I do think it's been a very difficult year, and I think certainly when we went into lockdown, people were like, oh yes, we can use this for loads of productivity. And no, because when you're going through a really stressful experience, you can't be productive. So yes, maybe some people were productive over lockdown, but if you were absolutely completely unproductive, then it's not your fault. It's it's the situation we found ourselves in, and everyone's got a different life situation, and everybody's been affected differently by it. So I mean, I teach 2 days a week, so those 2 days a week were a little bit stressful, trying to do stuff online, because I've also got a toddler. So my husband's also a teacher, so we were both trying to work whilst juggling a toddler, because of course at that point we weren't allowed family care. This lockdown we are, so that will make a big difference. That's good.
So there was that aspect, and so I certainly couldn't think about writing on the 2 days that I was trying to work from home. And then on other days, it's I was in the position as I say, having a toddler, trying to make sure he's got plenty of a wide range of experiences and things in life, and without being able to go to any baby groups, toddler groups, without being able to see any other children. So it's everyone's got a different situation, but I am lucky enough to live in the country, so we've got loads of outside space, lots of places that we can walk to and barely see anybody, and we've got some great local food suppliers, so we never worried about anything like that. So I am very privileged compared to some people. Some people have just been absolutely flattened by the last 6-9 months, and you know, to expect people to be productive when they've not known if their jobs are at risk or possibly have lost their jobs, when they've, you know, been struggling with childcare or homeschooling or all of these things, if they've been on their own and they've been battling loneliness for however long. Yeah, there are so many difficult things. And I think the people go, oh, well, what did you do in lockdown? Well, go away. Sorry, I was going to say something rude then, but I'm not going to swear on you think. Yeah,
I did start this video channel though. That's something I did do, of which I'm very, very glad.
Absolutely.
It's only going to be a sort of 4-week project in the summer, and it's lasted the entire year, and I have bookings right through till February for authors. So it's really, really exciting.
That's
and
good.
Thank you for being a part of it.
You're
I'm not going to
welcome.
go
Thank you for
yet.
coming.
We're going to do a little quick fire.
Okay.
Quick fire.
Oh gosh.
Around at the end. I wish you were here to pick one of these, but I'm going to pick it for you. Okay. Oh, what's your signature dish?
My signature dish, risotto.
Oh, good call.
Yeah.
What kind?
Yeah. I have a variation because I used to be vegetarian, so sometimes I do a veg one. Depends on seasonal veg as well. So sometimes like asparagus and things like that. Sometimes I just have loads of chicken and bacon and stuff in it now because I'm not veggie now. But yeah, so
it's a good call. I do like a pea and spinach with a bit of goat's cheese.
Oh, bit of goat's cheese. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
Question 2. Do you have any unusual talents, or what is your party trick, basically?
Well, I am hypermobile, so my party trick is usually moving a joint into a position it shouldn't naturally go into. When I was a teenager, it was basically I can turn my feet round so they're more than 180, like round to the back. Wow. So they're more than 180 degrees. Ooh. And still press the backs of my knees together. Which I would not recommend because my physio would kill me if I actually did it now. But yeah, that was always my party piece. People called it like the evil penguin or something. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Be a character. Oh, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
A writer.
Well
I got there eventually. Yeah, I think I used to, even as a kid, I used to want to be a writer. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think sometimes with all the, I don't know about you, but with all the kind of stuff that goes on around publishing a book, all the deadlines and the stressful moments in edits and the worrying about the sales and all the other stuff, you do sometimes lose sight of the fact that essentially we are paid money to make stories up for it, and that is our job.
Yeah.
So I always have to just go back to that one fact and be like, actually, you're very lucky, Broom. You're lucky.
Yeah, that's it. There are actually books with my name on that I wrote the words in like Waterstones. It's just mad.
Crazy. Right, let's do one more.
Okay.
Oh, the first book that you can remember reading as a child, perhaps reading to yourself as opposed to being read to.
I had a version of The Night Before Christmas that was the Care Bears. So it was the regular Night Before Christmas poem, but it was illustrated with Care Bears.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I remember reading that at all times of year, and I just loved that. I absolutely loved the book.
I don't think I ever saw that, which is strange because I was heavy into Care Bears. that must have passed me by, God knows how.
I bet my mum's still got it. But yeah, probably.
Who's your go-to? It's your Care Bear of choice.
I like the Care Bear cousins.
Oh, okay.
Particularly Brightheart Raccoon.
Brightheart Raccoon.
I do like I do like Brightheart Raccoon.
Penguin.
Pardon?
Remember
Cozy Heart Penguin? Yes, absolutely. Well, the Care Bear movie is on Netflix.
Is it?
Yeah, like the original one.
Place in the book.
Yes, yeah, that one. Yeah, it's on Netflix. So yeah,
watch it.
Yeah, I watched it a couple of years ago now. I think I was having a really bad day, and so my husband was like, "Right, sit down, have a blanket." Care Bear movie. It was brilliant. Yeah,
I liked the one where they started off as babies in the beginning, and then they had the Forester feelings and care a lot, and they all. Yes. That was a great one.
Yeah.
I like them as babies, and all those songs and. The songs that went on for about 20 minutes each. Yeah.
Well, there are 2 baby Care Bears. There are 2 that are babies. Yeah, that's it. So they're in the main film. I didn't know about another one. But that has the Forest of Feelings in it as well. Because that's where the Care Bear cousins live, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Anyway, I've got a whole collection on my. I'm gonna tweet you a picture that I've got all my old Care Bears on the windowsill in front of my desk in the other room, where I write, because my mum and dad moved about a year ago, and my mum found all my Care Bears, so I've got them lined up on the window in the office.
Mine were given away to my niece, and I think buried in the garden. So I don't. God, now, like having a whale of a time, living underground, like making earthworms days by
making a whole underground kingdom.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to move there soon. Don't joke. It might be preferable.
Yeah, it could be good. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Hold up your books again so people can have a look.
Oh, okay, hang on.
There they are. YouTube Silent Night is out now.
Yes.
Available from we're during lockdown, aren't we? So supermarkets. Yeah,
it's Asda and Tesco selected stores. Obviously online through bookshop.org, which is the new one that supports independent bookshops.
Yes,
that would be a really good place to buy it if you're buying it online.
If you haven't already checked it out, go and have a look. It's a really nice place. You can create your own sort of lists, and it's just wonderful, and it supports local business, which is so important at the moment, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
Not that we don't love Amazon, we do. Just ebooks we do.
For ebooks. If you want a paperback, go to your local independent.
Yes, I think that's fair. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, and make sure you tune back in next week, everybody, for more of the same, but different, but the same. Does make sense. Bye, everybody.